Hello everyone, welcome to the Pepperfish podcast. This is of course your host Pepperfish, and I'm going to talk today a little bit about an issue that has come up recently amongst my female friends. So one thing to keep in mind is that sometimes when women get together, we tend to, of course we do talk about men, but oftentimes women get creeped out, okay, by men sometimes. And when women get together and start talking, certain patterns start to arise, and that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about today, is some of the behaviors that, at least amongst my friends, we generally think are kind of creepy about guys, honestly. And I'm extremely curious about the male counterpart. So most women, they tend to be more concerned about guys who are creepy. I don't know if men really have that same feeling. Like, do they really kind of have this category of female where they think, okay, these females are creepy? I don't know if they really do. Crazy seems to be the male alternative. So women get creeped out by certain types of men, but men seem to be warned off by crazy women. So I don't know if that's true or not, and I need to investigate. But I think I'm hoping to do another podcast about the female version, I guess, of this podcast, focusing on some other trait that turns off men generally and that they tend to categorize women by. But today I am going to talk a little bit about creeper males. Okay, so we do realize this is a certain amount of prejudice that happens in women's heads where they get creeped out and they kind of put men into a category. Okay, yeah, that guy's a creeper. Yeah, I don't like him anymore. He creeps me out. And what exactly is it that causes us to do this, or what are the things that do creep us out? And for the most part, it's behaviors. Okay, so there are lots of guys where when you get to know them, whether they're your longtime friends or co-workers or family members, sometimes there's certain behaviors that they do and you're just like, okay, that's creepy. Other times you have perfect strangers who do things and you're just like, okay, I don't want to know you because you're doing something very creepy right now and you need to just go away. And for the most part, it is behaviors, and we are aware that our prejudice, usually relies on our perceptions of certain behaviors. So anyways, first I'm going to start off by listing some of the behaviors where when we hear about them as women, or if we experience them, then we tend to put you into the category of creeper, or men out there, we tend to put them into that category. So okay, number one, any guy who's like in his mid to late 20s or older, of course, who dates a girl younger than 20, specifically like 18 and 19-year-olds, you're kind of creepy to us. Like, for the most part, you might be a great guy, but there's still going to be something in the back of our heads that's thinking, yeah, that's kind of creepy, dude. I mean, I'm sure she's very mature for her age, and it all depends on the people involved and all of that, but still, in the back of our heads, we're thinking that's kind of creepy. I do want to say at this point that it should go without saying that any adult male who dates anyone who is under the legal age, whatever it is in their state, but mostly I'm talking 18 here, that's kind of creepy. It just is. I'm sure there may only be a few years difference, blah, 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 but still, kind of creepy. And then just to make a very clear point as well, any adult male who dates or sleeps with or tries anything with any child who is under the age of 15 is beyond creeper, okay? That is a whole other type of category of male, and that's not really what I'm going to talk about today. But mostly just, the guys who are just kind of, okay, yeah, that's creeper, okay. So anyways, yeah, guys who really just date women who are just way too young for them. In our perceptions, of course, this is women being all prejudiced or whatever, but this is kind of the stuff that creeps us out. So, okay, number one. Number two, behavior. Okay, when guys catcall to women, that's kind of creeper behavior, dude. We don't like that. And I'll say from my personal experience why I dislike catcallers, mostly because when I was young, when I was in freaking elementary school, okay, I was catcalled like crazy when I would walk home. Not that I was necessarily this beautiful 10-year-old. No, I was a little girl walking home alone, and I would get catcalled by random guys, whatever, driving by, whatever. And admittedly, it wasn't like every 10 minutes, but it happened almost every single time I walked home or walked to school. And that is creeper behavior, okay? I'm sorry, but no child should have to walk anywhere and get harassed by someone whistling or yelling things at them, trying to get our attention. So in general, ever since then, I've always been put off by catcallers. So I do realize that there are women who do appreciate that, who do respond positively, but for the most part, for most women, we associate that with creeper behavior. You have some stranger, most likely, who is totally trying to get your attention, and many times it becomes harassing. And yeah, you're a freaking creep, okay? So just stop it. Let's see here, okay. Another behavior is in regards to staring. So, number one, guys who stare at women from a distance and just stare at them. And they're still staring. Even now, they're staring at this poor woman. I mean, seriously, okay? As one of my friends put it, either come and talk to us or just stop. Just go away. Just read your freaking book or whatever it is that you're doing in the coffee shop or whatever. Yeah, continual staring is creepy. And of course it should go without saying that any guy who stares at your breasts or at other certain body parts while you're trying to have a conversation, whether this is a friend or a stranger or whatever, creeper. Okay, that's just automatic. But also, a certain type of creeper behavior that sometimes happens when you have multiple men together. Sometimes you'll have men who will say, like, stare out the window, and the window opens up to maybe like this grassy area or something like that where a lot of people are walking by. If you have a bunch of men together and they start rating women on their looks, that's creeper behavior, okay? And this is the type of behavior that you should never let any female know that you do. If you do this with your male friends, do not do this in front of a female. Even if she's totally down and she's practically a guy, total tomboy, no, you do not do this in front of her, because she will think you're a creeper, and so will every other female, and she'll probably tell all the other females that she knows that these guys are creepers. And so you seriously need to remember that she will tell on you. Do not do this in front of other females. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Guys, another behavior. Okay. Guys who touch women too much. Okay. Are you family? Oh, wait a minute. They might be family and they're still creepers. Those crazy uncles. Okay. So I won't even get into that. But guys who just, like, keep touching you. They're touchy-feely guys. Like, there's a certain point where you become a creeper in most women's minds. And I'm sure, it could be anything from just that's the way you are, or that's the way you were raised. We don't care. For the most part, that's creeper behavior. And let's see here. Okay. This is a big pet peeve of mine as well. But usually when you have men who are strangers, this is sort of the step up from just catcalling. But when guys approach you on the street or in a store, when you're just, like, trying to do your business, okay? You're either out shopping or you're just walking home or walking to school or whatever. Guys who talk to you, and then when they get a brush off, they don't leave you alone, okay? So, okay, fine. If you want to come up, approach me, maybe the woman will be interested, maybe they won't. But when a woman signals that she isn't interested, and you still stick around and you still, like, pester, that's creepy, Okay, that is freaking creepy. I've had that happen to me. I remember one time I was walking to school when I was in high school, and this guy totally came up to me, and I was totally like barely answering his questions, trying to not be outright rude to his face, but not, really giving much, and totally just saying, yeah, sorry, I'm not interested in hanging out with you because I'm really busy with schoolwork. He did not take that, as a freaking brush off that it was. No, he was like, I'm really interested with really intellectual women. That's great. Yeah, right, dude. Anyways. Yeah, so guys who can't take a freaking hint and harass you, particularly when they're strangers. So, let's see here. A lot of these are just basic behaviors that you kind of see guys do, and you're just like, oh, that's just really creepy. A lot of times it kind of builds up to this perception in women's minds that this guy is desperate, probably for some sort of sexual interaction with us, and we're a little creeped out. And honestly, this kind of builds up to certain types of males that we, for the most part, most women have observed. Of course, I'm really generalizing, being all prejudiced right now, but usually all of these behaviors seem to come out in one type of male. And so, therefore, because of past experiences, a lot of women are just kind of like, yeah, that guy, he's kind of a creep, and he fits into this certain category, mostly because we have seen or experienced this person, behaving in all the ways I just described. Okay? So, this particular type of male that tends to creep us out is honestly any male who's over the age of 40 or so who has never been married and is single. Okay? Now, there are, of course, guys who are over the age of 40 and they are single who are not creeps, but there are a number who are, and this is just kind of like, you hear or you meet this person, maybe you are friends with this person even, maybe you've been friends with them for a long time, but you're just like, wow, there's just something that has pushed this male into, like, the creepy old man category. And part of it is the prejudice and the speculation, I guess, or the presumption on the part of the women, where we look at a guy and we're just thinking, what kind of crazy sexual fantasies that have been allowed to percolate in that guy's head because he hasn't had an actual woman there to satisfy him, I guess, or to work with him in his sexual fantasies. I mean, like, this is, the kind of, guy that we associate as having, like, a real girl or real doll or whatever they're called. I think it's a real girl. Like those life-ish, like, dolls of women that you can, have sex with and marry. I think there's actually one guy who's married to his. And it's just one of those situations where, there's a lot of presumption on our part, and we are aware of that. But at the same time, because if we also see guys who are of that age, who are single, and we also see them do some of these other behaviors that I've talked about, like the staring or the touching or the catcalling, then that definitely pushes you into major creeper category. Like, oh, that's just creeper old man, dude. Dirty old man. That's what you are to us. And so just because, if there's any male who's that age and still single, you don't have to worry, just as long as you do not behave in typical creeper ways. This is a good time when you get to that age to take care of your physical hygiene, for example. And to close up this podcast, I want to describe, as I hinted to just now, the other type of male, or category of male, I guess, that any male could be, but something that just kind of puts you into creeper category, is the whole physical hygiene issue. Okay, so you might be the funniest person and the greatest, warmest heart in the world. We may not think you creepy in any other way, but the moment you stop taking care of your physical hygiene is usually the moment when women are just like, okay, yeah, you have moved into the creeper category. So, and this is of all ages. Except perhaps children, there's still kind of this like, okay, he's a young kid, no big deal. But as, once a guy hits adulthood, he should be taking care of his physical hygiene for the most part, in the opinion of women. Most women would prefer to, have some sort of sexual relations or something like that with guys who have actually, brushed their teeth that day and flossed. Please floss. Okay, floss. Anyways, so this is kind of a broader category of men of all ages, but seriously, that the male who has greasy hair and doesn't wash it regularly and has a particular type of smell and doesn't wash his clothing, probably doesn't wash his sheets or towels either. That's we have some issues with that. And you might be great in all other ways, but that just moves you right into the creeper category. Okay. So anyways, that is it. I'm going to wrap up. And again, I would love to know what other people think about the creepiness factor in men, or its equivalent in women. Is it craziness or is it something else? That's about it.